Very good afternoon, everyone. So now the second session of PYQ Mela. Today we are going to have the continuation from the last session. So last session we have discussed the different types of conclusions that we can write. Along with that, three PYQs, I think, from 2025 we have dealt with. So now moving forward from there, the next question we are taking up again from 2025, and this was the question, okay, 15 marker to 50 words. The question was, discuss how the changes in shape and size of continents and ocean basins of the planet take place due to tectonic movements of the crustal mass. Now in this case, how we read the question, that's most important part. First of all, in this type of question where the statement is very long, okay, the good idea, very straightforward, is to break it down into the four terminologies. So what they are asking us is, first, the shapes and size of what? The first is continent, and second is this ocean basins. So which means these two we can deal with separately, first and second. So for our answer, very straightforward, this becomes two different parts. And then going from there, the third part of the planet takes place due to tectonic movements of the crustal mass. So the complete idea of this answer that I see, how the structuring would be there, is plate tectonics. Plate tectonics impacting the continents and impacting the ocean basin. This is around which your whole structuring should revolve. So I have got very clearly three different sub portions. What should I do? In the first paragraph, I should briefly explain plate tectonics, very briefly. Okay, and then move on to the second part where I'll very clearly discuss how plate tectonics impact the size and the shape of continents, and then third paragraph, ocean. This I have got as a structure. Now from content perspective, second thing, what type of conclusion should I be writing over here? Looking at this question, what type of conclusion should be there? Okay, people attending online, you also reply to this. Okay, what type of conclusion I can go with over here? So this is a very plain, straightforward question. Okay, no analysis, no discussion, nothing discuss, although the word is there, but it is purely explaining, elaborating. Okay, and that's where the most apt type of conclusion should be summary conclusion. Okay, nothing more than that is required. Now coming to the content part, ये तो structuring part is there. Content part में overall what we have to know with respect to plate tectonics is the concept of what we call as Wilson cycle. Now Wilson cycle concept, what is this Wilson cycle concept? So Wilson cycle, if you see over here in brief, the whole idea is, let's say we start from over here, that there is this one supercontinent. This supercontinent breaks and moves out, start moving out, and then after that the forces change. You can see over here these divergent forces are there. Okay, and then after a while when the force change, okay, the force becomes convergent and they come back again together, creating another supercontinent. Correct? So in this case, this supercontinent cycle, this is called as Wilson cycle. And the most recent one, okay, that we can talk about over here have been whole cycle. If I talk about, so I have to know two last supercontinents which have been Pangaea, and before that, no, Pangaea was one supercontinent. Okay, prior to that there was one more supercontinent. Any idea? That's called as Rodinia. Rodinia. Okay, so Rodinia. Rodinia supercontinent. So Rodinia supercontinent existed. After that, Rodinia supercontinent broke, started moving out, and then force changed, and then came back again with whole of this process, came back again and formed now what? Pangea. So Rodinia to Pangea. This is one complete cycle. In fact, when you say old fold mountains, जैसे Appalachians, Urals, okay, they were formed during this time only. Okay, जैसे Appalachians are found where? On the eastern margin of USA or eastern margin of North America, correct? Ab at the present time, Appalachian is in the middle of the plate. It is not at the plate boundary. I cannot explain it by the present plate tectonic. But yet, when the Pangea was forming, okay, here is where, let's say here is where Appalachians formed. Strike over here, hit over here, and this became one plate, and Appalachian is now here. So any fold mountain has been formed at the margins of the plates only. The thing is whether it is young fold mountain. If it is young fold mountain, now also it is present at the margin of the plate. But if it is old fold mountain, the old plate margins have been destroyed. So they are found in the middle. The Appalachians and Urals both were formed during the reorganization of Pangea. Got my point? So this is Wilson cycle. Now how this Wilson cycle operate is very simple. I will not go into each and every part of detail. But basic idea is you have one continent, okay? And now along this continent a rupture happens. Now this rupture may happen due to what factor? Volcanic eruption mainly. What do we identify it as? A specific term. Hotspot eruption. Mantle plumes. Mantle plumes. Mantle plumes causes a rupture over here. Now as it ruptures from over here, it starts pushing the two parts of the continent apart, and as the magma is coming out, magma solidifies here, forming the basaltic rocks. The basaltic crust is nothing but oceanic crust. So here oceanic crust starts forming, and this process continues. As this process continues, this oceanic crust results in an ocean basin, which is filled up with the water. This is how new oceans are formed, correct? So if you think of two examples, Atlantic Ocean formation, just if you visualize, okay, the Africa, let's say southern Atlantic Ocean, so Africa and South America were together, Gondwana land part. They separated out. It was this process only. Continental rupture happened. Then they started moving out, and in between the space was filled up with water. That is South Atlantic Ocean. The most recent formation, tell me any recent formation you can think of. Absolutely, Red Sea formation. So the Arabian landmass and the African landmass, a rupture happened, started moving out, Red Sea has been formed. So when this will happen, here at this point you will have MOR, mid-oceanic ridge, and this will continue to expand. Then after a while, yahan dekhiye, the force has reversed now. From divergence it has become convergent. As the force reverses, this margin closes down. Abhi this is not a MOR. And somewhere in between, crust will break and subduction will begin. Correct? So the active and passive margins, here the most important term is active and passive margin. So as of now, this up to here, this was an active margin, but now this has become a passive margin. It has been closed now, and active margin is this now. Now when the subduction happens, volcanic eruption happens, here you will find volcanic island arc. So volcanic island arcs would form, and then further subduction and convergence will lead to hitting of this island arc with continent. So this is the first stage where has been formed. This is the fold mountain. This is first stage of fold mountain formation, which is formed by what we call as continent island arc collision. OCCC and all, this is the advanced form of that. okay, where we call it continent arc collision. So first continent arc collision creates first stage of fold mountain. Now on both the sides you have these fold mountains. See written over here, arc continent origin. Origin is mountain building. Arc continent collision say these two fold mountains on the either sides have been formed. And now the convergence continues. This becomes now continental margin becomes active margin now. Correct? And so eventually over the period of time, the water body closes down and both of these sides combine together. This is a overall fold mountain, final fold mountain. What this fold mountain has done, it has returned back the continent to the earlier state where it was joined. And now it would look like you have stitched two continental parts, stitching. This stitching is called a suture. In medical terminology, suture is a stitch. So this is what we call as continental suture. Correct? So here continental suture. So all the fold mountains on the earth, they act as a continental suture. It's like stitching. They combine the land masses. And then again it will break. Now it may break from here or it may break from here, anywhere. Got my point? This is called as Wilson cycle. So broadly understood what is happening in Wilson cycle, I'll again repeat, continental rupture happens and continents start moving apart, new ocean basin form, and ocean basin keeps expanding with a MOR in the middle. Then the force changes, force reverses, and the MOR becomes passive margin. New active margins develop with subduction. And what forms? Island arc forms. Then island arc continent collision happens, this first stage of a fold mountain, and then further convergence lead to the complete shrinking of ocean basin and continental suture taking place. Understood my point? So this is where the whole idea of fold mountains come into picture. And now you can think of Appalachian and Urals as the same. Now when I talk about this, that breakup happened, and then when it was joining back again, suture happened. These sutures were Appalachian, Urals, Himalayas are young sutures. Okay, all the fold mountains as of now, Himalayas especially, Himalayas and Alps also. Alpide Himalayan chain is the continental suture right now. So this is Wilson cycle. Okay, shall we move further? So coming back to the question now, okay, what all to do? Intro first of all. Intro should be very basic. If you want to write, you can note down the intro. Intro mein I'll just write about plates and their role in shaping the continents. That's 2-3 lines I should write. Give me any idea, what should I write? And define it. Okay, try to write 2 lines, 2 to 3 lines introduction. Right. Anything about plate tectonics and something. Read it. ठीक है, sort of anything you have written. ठीक है, nice, no problem. Okay, it's just about introducing plate tectonics. So the introduction can be like plate tectonics as a theory dealing with the movement of the crustal plates play an important role in shaping the oceans and continent basin. Anything like this. So this is a plain introduction. After that, the next paragraph would be about plate tectonics as a theory. So plate tectonics as a theory, I'll not take more than 6 to 7 lines to explain it. In the body. Introduction done, this is the body. Okay, so 6 to 7 lines, nothing more than that. Okay, that's what you are going to explain it. Just mention there ki convergence hota hai, divergence is there, and so on so forth. Then next paragraph I'll move on to. First they have asked me which part? The continent part. So shaping continents. No. See, you can do that, but the problem is then examiner will not be able to differentiate between what you are writing. If you mix it up, there are chances. A lot of people write in that manner. Okay, but a rather more prescriptive one is this one. Because every part of the question is being dealt separately. So, shaping continents, what all are the points I can include? First, shaping the continent में I'll think of Wilson cycle only. So Wilson cycle में first क्या start होता है? Rifting. Rifting of continents. तो फर्स्ट रिफ्टिंग हो गया. रिफ्टिंग के बाद ड्रिफ्टिंग. ड्रिफ्टिंग, आफ्टर ड्रिफ्टिंग, next only with respect to continents if I think of Wilson cycle. Rift, drift, so that is not with the continental part. Continental part, next thing only will happen as suture. Correct. So, nahin, subduction also is with respect to ocean basins. So orogeny direct. So orogeny, the suture taking place. So convergence, divergence we have already dealt with. The third type of boundary remaining as transform boundary. So I'll just mention over here transform boundary. Okay, rubbing the continents and changing again their shape. And in these cases I'll try to give examples. Okay, so यहाँ orogeny में तो there is no big deal. Any example you can use. Okay, transform boundary में St. Andreas Fault, California. Rifting and drifting में you can use continental drift theory as such, Pangea and all. You can absolutely, why not? Any example can be used. Pointers are there. So this is first paragraph, this is second paragraph, and now moving on to third para, which is shaping ocean basin. Shaping ocean basins, what would be the pointers? Think of Wilson cycle. हाँ मतलब formation of, yes, new ocean basin formation. New ocean basin formation I'll write. Then what else was happening on the seafloor? Yes, absolutely. Subduction and formation of volcanic island arcs. Mid-oceanic ridge. You get that, in fact, you can explain over here only. So these pointers you can put over here. Third paragraph done. Fourth paragraph, you'll just write about Wilson cycle, not explaining anything in detail. Just this is opportunity to showcase your knowledge, because majority of the people would not be knowing Wilson cycle as such. You have mentioned, you have only taken its parts. You have not, you can mention Wilson cycle also, but summarizing the Wilson cycle at the end is combining these two. Then it becomes Wilson cycle. So that is what I'm trying to do in the fourth paragraph. Because so Wilson cycle should not take more than 3 to 4 lines of yours. And then finally you go to conclusion, which is summary conclusion. Summary conclusion, try to write it. 3 lines, that's it. Three to 4 lines maximum. Chaliye, written, read it. Okay, both are good. Nice. So understood how to deal with these type of questions. So the whole idea, see, what we are developing is we are taking up different types of question. Try to identify that, because the whole idea of these sessions, I have said, is not learning again the PYQs and all. We know majority of them, but rather having a very clear familiarity with different types or categories of question and how to deal with them. So these long statement based, break it down and you have the structure with you. Then moving on to the next question, okay, from 2024 now. So 10 marker question, what is sea surface temperature rise? How does it affect the formation of tropical cyclone? Okay, so two parts of the question. First, dealing with sea surface temperature rise, and second, its relationship with tropical cyclones. The first thing that we would deal with would be the conclusion. What type of conclusion here? Can be prescriptive. These type of questions will have prescriptive conclusion. Okay, so prescriptive conclusion can be prescriptive conclusion or can be precautionary conclusion. Otherwise, more frequency of disasters will happen, and so two types of conclusions applicable over here. So now, what should be the structure of this particular answer? Tell me, different parts. Perfect. No, don't jump directly into that. Abhi, this part is still remaining. You have just defined it. But always, whenever defining any, see, this is again a problem statement. See, there is this risk, there is this happening, this is causing this. But the first question always would come whenever you have these type of connecting questions is what causes this? But this is what examiner is looking for, which is missing in the direct statement of the question. Okay, yahan ka causing this is okay. They have directly asked. So I have to create a linkage. So my flow over here would be to first of all define the sea surface temperature rise. What do we mean by that? Okay, and then moving on to causes of sea surface temperature rise. What is causing the sea surface temperature rise? So causes, what would be the causes that I can write? Is one. Melting ice sheets, correct. Melting polar ice caps. Disruption in the conveyor belt system, yes. Solar winds impacting sea surface temperature rise. But it does not reaches the sea surface. Okay, there are slight impact is there, but not causing sea surface temperature rise. Okay, link it with some geographical phenomena also. See, this is not always. It has nowhere directly told us that climate change induced sea surface temperature rise. So when there is one event in which sea surface temperature rise happens? That's the carbonation that is happening. Okay. El Nino event. Sea surface temperature rise, El Nino event. So when talking about, so first I'll go in intro, I'll go with definition. Correct. Definition के बाद first paragraph under body would be causes of sea surface temperature rise. Causes of sea surface temperature rise में first, that is global warming. What will you do with this? Add on, tell me. नहीं, अभी सिर्फ causes. Last class we have got a reference document, AR6, IPCC AR6. Go back to that. Can you find any specific data? What you can written over there? AR6 has already clearly identified it. Okay, see, last time also you got a question directly from AR6. This question also you can see directly from AR6. Okay, AR6 ke pointers, if you read, I have told you already. Okay, this is from where questions would be framed. This is the ultimate source for UPSC examiners. So likewise, I have to memorize these facts, AR6K. So now global warming, and directly it has told about SST. You will cite that particular data also. Substantiation happens. This is global warming. Apart from global warming, polar ice cap melt. Stratification of oceans. Last time I have explained it. Okay. So the top water and bottom water are not able to mix. So top water continues to have warmer waters rather than intermixing. Stratification is another point. And then a natural event, that is El Nino. You got it? So now see the linkage. This is the pattern I am talking about. Okay, those who would have prepared this PYQ from 2024, they already have 2 points for 2025. So these type of questions do have linkages. That's why we say 10 years question you can do any type of question. Okay, just you have to know what to write where. So first paragraph, causes of SST rise, we have written. Now we move on to second paragraph. Okay, this would be last paragraph because 150 words only. Is impact on tropical cyclone. अब impact on tropical cyclones, what impact, how tropical cyclones would be impacted? Why? That's the question. Think of conditions for tropical cyclone, favorable conditions for tropical cyclones. Should be how much? You will have to mention it. Average sea surface temperature should be greater than 27 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's the first condition in fact for tropical cyclones. Okay, and it fits well with this whole idea that sea surface temperature is rising. Okay, so first is sea surface temperature greater than 26.5, it is precise. Okay, 27 we write rounding off. That's one case. This is occurrence. Along with occurrence, क्योंकि low pressure systems become stronger due to heating, which gives rise to stronger winds. PGF would become more, and so winds would become stronger, the low pressure becomes intense, and so you will have stronger cyclones. Stronger cyclones, when we say, will use, okay, linkages, this is the linkage. Stronger cyclone, the moment it comes, I measure the cyclone strength. How? What is scale? Scale used to measure the strength of tropical cyclone. What is the name of the scale? Saffir-Simpson scale. Saffir-Simpson scale. I'll again go back to see who scores more. When I am writing, I'll put it like the excessive heating of the sea surface waters leads to stronger low pressure, which results in much stronger winds. This results in more number of cyclones registering at a higher level on Saffir-Simpson scale. See the difference? Correct? The difference would be there. So this is stronger winds. Apart from that, more moisture. If the sea surface temperature is higher, okay, there would be more evaporation, so air will have more moisture, and more moisture would mean मतलब more rainfall, heavier rainfall. Cyclone say one another problem is rainfall, so it would result in much heavier rainfall. ठीक है. Next impact that I'll find would be location, geographical location. The tracks of cyclone are getting impacted. So now if you see the case of this, okay, earlier or technically geographically when we say Arabian Sea should rather be more free from tropical cyclones. Bay of Bengal is prone to tropical cyclones, correct? But now in the recent times we have seen Arabian Sea also getting stronger cyclones. And here you can give any case example, okay, but you will have to name the cyclone of Arabian Sea. Find any of them with the year. Okay, this year this cyclone happened stronger. So locational impacts are there. Okay? And then because of more heat, the lifespan of cyclone also is getting elongated. Because more sustained energy it has now. More heat, more sustained energy. And so the lifespan before the cyclone die. Okay, so all of this is causing more havoc. Okay, yes, got it. So these would be more than sufficient points. This is all technical part. So once you have got this, now you can write the conclusion. Done. Which can be prescriptive or which can be precautionary. Precautionary or prescriptive. Two the different conclusions. So now do one thing. You write one precautionary and you write one prescriptive conclusion. Try writing both of these. One prescriptive and one precautionary for the same question. चलिए, written. Yes, so read it. Okay, okay. Perfect. Prescriptive. Precautionary may rather I'll suggest a little bit of modification. Precautionary means what? Last time I said precautionary when you are writing, go with a negative statement. Negative statement, precautionary, you have to read it like ki this should be done very quickly, very soon, otherwise this may happen. That is what we call as precautionary. Okay, वो precautionary जैसा डराना है किसी को, डराने वाला कि ये कर लो नहीं तो ये हो जाएगा. That is precautionary. ठीक है. Otherwise when you say sufficient precautions have been undertaken, have to be taken and all, वो prescriptive ही हो जाता है फिर. You have written some conclusion? नहीं, ठीक है. चलिए, so this question understood? How to deal with, what are the different elements? Next question, let's move to next question. Okay, this was very straightforward question. Okay, which was again 150 words. So what is the phenomena of cloudburst? Explain. So phenomena of cloudburst, explain. Up first, let's go with the conclusion. What type of conclusion here? Which means preventions to be taken means prescriptive. Prescriptive. Disaster related any question and you go for prescriptive conclusion. Yes, so now this question, when I say what is the phenomena of cloudburst and all, this rather was again the source of this question had been the increased frequency of cloudburst in India. Last year it happened. Okay, this year anyways it is ongoing everywhere. Okay, one after another, to the level that when first happened I made a YouTube video. Okay, then 2 days later only second came, third came, then I stopped dealing with those news. Once explained, done. So again the source was that. The structuring of this is very plain and simple. I'll go with the content rather to explain the content. So cloudburst, when you say cloudburst, first I'll go with the definition. Much better is what I was going to say, is relating it with current aspect. That the recent cloudburst and XYZ have exposed the proneness of Himalayan regions of India to the phenomena of cloudburst. And you name properly the event. Okay, just in the earlier cases, we used to name it like Kedarnath, and Joshimath. Okay, likewise in the present, if you will relate it to Uttarkashi or XY, one or two names you put in over there. So the recent occurrence, this is how you are going to start the intro. So write the intro. Read it. But you only gave me the suggestion. I said no, you only gave me the idea. So why are you defining it now? Okay, the same, like he has written that recent occurrence over here and here. No, that will create a connecting paragraph. Okay, that is much better a way to deal with it. So then I'll go with the connecting paragraph. Connecting para would be definition. 10 centimeter. 10 centimeter in 1 hour. Okay, precisely technically, we say it 10 centimeter in 1 hour over an area of 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer. 10, 10, 10. Okay, but still 10 kilometer by 10 kilometer is subjective in different regions. That is changed. So we write over a confined space. That's it. So rainfall of greater than 10 centimeters per hour. Okay, over a confined space. That is what is the definition of cloudburst. Now the question is asking us simply what is the phenomena of cloudburst. So we have to explain the mechanism, nothing more than that. So over here next we are going to do write is mechanism. ठीक है, mechanism लिख देंगे. Mechanism के बाद क्या? First let's create the structure. What else I can do? Demand of the question has been fulfilled. Done. लेकिन add on, what is the add on? Before that, what you started. See, don't leave anything incomplete in your answer. That's most important idea. What have you written over here? कि recent occurrence यहाँ exposing the proneness of this and this. But the question is why proneness? Why proneness? Geography questions has to be having some spatial aspect. Correct. So I should talk about the geographical distribution. When I talk about geographical distribution, so let's say geographical distribution. Geographical distribution में I'll use a map. Identify the regions. What can be the regions I can identify? More proneness, medium, low, but what are those regions? Highly prone ones. Himalayan, ठीक है, Himalayan, Uttarakhand, Himachal, most prone. Okay, then extending up to Sikkim or Arunachal. That's one region. Another. Western Ghats part, which is not very highly prone, but yet localized cloudbursts do occur. And the third is Meghalaya region. These are the regions which are there. So I can draw a map of India and mark them over there, shading the regions. That's one aspect. And then more specifically, because this was a question related to current, okay, I'll have to explain it. And that's where the question is, why Himalayas? This is all add-on. Why Himalayas? Why Himalayas? What can be the reason? Tell me. How? Why? So, steep slopes. Steep slopes means sudden rise, sharp rise. ठीक है, steep slopes के अलावा next one is meeting of monsoon with western disturbances. This is especially with case of Uttarakhand and Himachal. And so Uttarakhand and Himachal, what we see first most importantly is this Arabian Sea branch. Okay, plus this Bay of Bengal branch also meets here only. And on the top of that, this is the extreme case when western disturbances also come. So all of these confluence happens here only. In this case, western disturbance is bringing a lot of moisture. And most importantly, this branch is bringing a lot of moisture because it has not rained anywhere. Aravallis के वजह से है ना, तो it still has a lot of moisture. यहाँ भी हो रहा है, तो confluence of monsoon winds and western disturbances. That's another aspect. Then along with that, narrow valleys. Himalayas are young fold mountains, correct? And young fold mountains have one specific characteristic, that is deep and narrow valley. अब narrow valley से क्या? What happens due to narrow valley? Adiabatic is one thing because steep already you have written, so that has already been covered. This now we are talking about post rainfall. Cloud burst related disaster, why it is more? Cloud burst तो हो गया यहाँ पे. अब when cloud burst happens in the open area, even if there is more water, okay, it is distributed equally. But here you may have seen the first case which happened in Uttarkashi wala. Okay, the videos were viral. What precisely happened? There was very narrow valley which opened out. So that's why water came rushing so fast. So this is post cloud burst, disaster part, narrow valleys. Okay, and likewise with narrow valleys along, again impact की बात करें तो settlements, construction, which somewhere is related to tourism. Construction is related to tourism. So this is the part where you are going to get the marks. So these structures, what I am telling you, okay, if you are able to maintain this quality, you can write there sit on the in top 50. This is the topper's answers. Okay, others just simply deal with mechanism, done, ho gaya. At the maximum they will write some disaster management aspect. So geographical distribution and why Himalayas, done. And then you go in for conclusion part, correct? Mechanism. Now what is the mechanism of cloudburst? So mechanism of cloudburst, basically what happens is, because there is very steep rise of air and air continuously keeps coming in, this steep rise results in the same adiabatic cooling and the formation of cumulonimbus clouds. That's first thing. So over here in this case, the air that is rising, it has resulted in formation of cumulonimbus cloud. But now the water droplets will not fall in. Why? Because of very strong uplift. Uplift is very strong. So the water droplets which are forming over here, they are not able to come down. And so the water or the moisture keeps accumulating in the cloud for very long. And then once and all, when it is very, very heavy, everything starts coming down. And so it comes down at such a high speed. Correct? So yaha most important thing is a strong uplift. If the uplift is not very strong, then the moment cloud forms, the rainfall will begin at that point only. So I'll have 3 stages over here. Orographic, uplift is one, then cloud build up, and then sudden release. नहीं, this side only, this side only. हाँ, the whole idea is when the updraft is not very strong, okay, the moment cloud forms, those small water droplets also start raining. That's simple orographic rainfall. But if it is very strong, small droplets will not be able to fall. So then it has to grow very large. And so the build-up time, cloud builds up over a long period of time. And once and all, everything falls down because all the water droplets are very large now. Correct? This is one aspect, and while writing this, you are going to write the impact of climate change also in this. Diagram is one thing. Okay, climate change में AR6 again. AR6 का एक बहुत simple basic statement is there with respect to extreme rainfall. And what is that? Probably you may not have written. Okay, one basic observation I am telling you is, which is common geographical observation, but AR6 maybe it is written. कि warm air is able to hold more moisture. We know this from relative humidity concept. Correct. Warm air is able to hold more moisture. This is one observation from AR6. Just to bring in AR6 in my answer, I'll use this. But according to AR6, warm air holds more moisture. And so with global warming and warm air, all the air which is here, it has a lot of moisture. So buildup is very heavy. ठीक है, can do this. Any question, anything to ask? हो जाएगा. चलिए, so let's move on to the next question. And next question here reads, what is the concept of demographic winter? Is the world moving towards such a situation? Elaborate. So this is from human geography part. Social geography, what we call is generally what you study under Indian society. Okay, but still I'll deal it under geography itself. So demographic winter. Demographic winter basically refers to when the population starts declining. Population starts declining, that's called as demographic winter. So up demographic winter, there are 2 or 3 aspects to that. When I say demographic winter, okay, first let's just understand the concept. Okay, then we'll go to the structure. Demographic winter, first I would like it to relate to demographic transition model. You guys are aware of demographic transition model? So demographic transition model, what does the model says? So demographic transition model mein the stages which are there, what are these stages? Stage 1 is high birth rate and high death rate. Birth rate, death rate, both are high. So population as overall is low and fluctuating. Then second stage mein death rate starts declining, birth rate remains high. So birth rate remains high, death rate starts declining. Okay, at this stage the total population starts increasing, sharp increase. Then third stage mein the rate of decrease of this slows down, so slope changes, and birth rate also starts coming down. Okay, this is where total population still increases but slower rate, because birth rate is still higher, na? This is steep rise, this is gentle rise. And then comes the fourth stage where birth rate and death rate becomes equal. This is the stage of population stabilization, fourth stage. Birth rate, death rate are equal. And then comes fifth stage, which is where death rate exceeds the birth rate. So death rate exceeds the birth rate. ये death rate है. And so this is the case where population declines. Which stage we are talking about in this demographic winter? This is demographic winter. Okay, this is the stage where population decline happens. Okay, a population decline happens. Now why population decline happens? What are few of them? But why does it impact the birth rate or death rate? What is the reason for demographic winter? Or let's, to be precise, what is the reason for still declining birth rate? Let's say first. वो तो measure का measure हो गया ना. Why? Why birth rate is still declining? Birth rate is still declining due to one factor, which is individualism. First thing. Secondly, collapse of social institutions. Which social institutions we are talking about? Yes, absolutely. Family, marriage. Okay, is most importantly institution of marriage. That all completely collapses. Okay, nobody wants to marry, have family or anything, which is individualism in fact. So this is reason for declining birth rate. But now second part, increasing death rate. Why is it so? Aging population. So third is aging population. These three reasons I have now. First thing, correct? So ये तो हो गया आपका demographic transition model, first part. And second part, how do you measure it now? Is TFR, total fertility rate, correct? TFR. So TFR, it is nothing but a measure, that's it. Reasons we have already said. So TFR, how do we define how should I define demographic winter with TFR? And that is how much? Absolutely. So TFR should be greater than, matlab demographic winter if I am talking about, then in that case TFR becomes less than replacement rate, which is 2.1. So TFR becoming less than 2.1, this is the measure. Correct, got it? So I have the reasons, causes, I have the measure. My answer is almost done now. Simple, straightforward. So in this case, if I go back to the question, what is the question asking? What is the concept of demographic winter? First part. Is the world moving towards such a situation? Elaborate. Got it? Having understood the concept, first tell me the type of conclusion that I have to go for. Okay. And what would you suggest? Balance. Okay. We are going to answer that, but first let us figure out the conclusion type. Prescriptive. Which is more of a precautionary. Prescriptive becomes very general now. That's why I asked, what would you do? Because as of now, world has not found any solution. So we know Japan has tried a lot, Germany has tried a lot. Okay, they have started a lot of programs, but things are not changing or reversing. So me prescribing something at this stage where countries are not able to find it, okay, so that is not something I'll go with rather. So more than that, better is I'll have more dimensions with respect to precaution. If this continues, X will happen, Y will happen. We know it will have an impact on economy also. It will have an impact on society also, overall demography also. So I have more dimensions to cover over there. Correct. So my idea would be more of a precautionary type of conclusion here. That's done. Now, so what our structure would be, what is the concept of demographic winter? I'll straightforward in the introduction define it because it is a term now. So when it is a term, the most important thing in definition, always in introduction, you have to define it. Yes. No, there is no textbook definition actually of demographic winter. Demographic winter is a colloquial term. It's not a technical term anyways. Yes, so then you have to create a definition. Okay, understanding the meaning, you can create it easily. Now going beyond that, in the body part, what I'll do is first paragraph, I'll go with DTM. Graph you draw complete. So draw the graph, and with the graph point out that in fifth stage, okay, as the birth rate continues decreasing and the death rate starts increasing, there is a decline in the total population. Why I'm doing that? Because from here only I'll move to causes. It would be a very natural connection. And given my habit of showing off, okay, how I would go is, while writing causes, I'll not just write those 3 points. In between, in the statements, I'll like that unlike in second stage, unlike in third stage. This is a show off only, nobody has asked you. But I am telling examiner ki, see, I understand whole of the DTM. I understand why it reaches this stage. A progression, because DTM is about progression, stages. Right? So don't forget to mention here and there, second stage, third stage, without elaborating anything. Got it? So causes I'll mention. Then I'll straightforward move to the concept of TFR and replacement rate. This is measure. So I'll mention it like this stage expresses itself in the form of total fertility rate falling below 2.1, which is considered to be replacement level. Okay, so this, all the three should be connected properly. Once you have done this, first part you have dealt with, what is the concept of demographic winter. Now second part, is the world moving towards such a situation, correct? Yes or no? Yes, the world is moving towards such a situation. Now world is moving towards such a situation. This is your next paragraph. In fact, here only 2 paragraphs would come up. DTM ye ho gaya, ye second paragraph you will write. Okay, and then you will come to third paragraph. So we are going to explain it, okay, over here, but yet you will have to take one stand. And because it is a very straightforward question, is the world moving towards? It's almost equal. See, because I cannot have a preference over here because it is only 150 words. So anyways, you do not have too much to write here. Is the world moving towards such a situation? Yes. And at the best, what I can do is, I can elaborate it with some examples and some data if I know it. तो यहाँ एग्जाम्पल लिखेंगे. एग्जाम्पल में गुड एग्जाम्पल्स दैट आई हैव इज Japan, South Korea, Germany, and the Scandinavian countries also as well. तो यहाँ एग्जाम्पल्स हमने दे दिया. लेट्स से जापान, साउथ कोरिया, Germany, and few more. But here you will get an opportunity to write about India also. अब India as of now is enjoying demographic dividend. You get a question on demography, and if you don't mention demographic dividend of India, it's a sin actually. Across the world, everyone is talking about this only. So, but India's TFR is 2. India's TFR is between 1.9 to 2. Yes, on an average it is 2. So now you can write very clearly that India's TFR on an average also has fallen below replacement level. But just because of demographic momentum, what we technically call as demographic momentum, India will continue to enjoy the demographic dividend. Okay, till I think the year is 2061 or 2062. Okay, after which our population will stabilize and actually going to decline. So, yes, it is heading towards. As of now, it is not there. Okay? And along with that, here only you will mention Africa. The contrast, see, what we have done is 3 things we have done. One group is Japan, South Korea, Germany, which definitely is population decline case. Another I have taken India, which as of now has demographic dividend, but its TFR has already fallen below replacement level. So in the near future, population decline or population stabilization. And third, Africa, where their TFR is way above replacement level. Okay, 2.5 से ज़्यादा है, 3 है. Okay, in a lot of countries. Okay, जैसे DRC and all those countries. Sudan is 6. So this is where these have the demographic dividend factor. 3 ग्रुप हो गए बहुत क्लियरली, इससे ज़्यादा इलैबोरेट नहीं किया जा सकता है इसको, सेकेंड पार्ट को. Yes, got it? So, after this conclude, done. 150 word more than sufficient. Next question was, what are aurora australis and aurora borealis? How are these triggered? This was, in fact, this is generally what we teach for prelims. The aurora phenomena, and more so over, but it was very obvious for UPSC to ask this question. Why was it so? What was the reason? So in 2023, Ladakh mein there was aurora. It was all over the news. And we know from aurora that auroras are generally witnessed only near the poles. So far into the tropics, witnessing aurora was something very rare. Reason was nothing but the solar winds, solar storm was very strong. So it was able to penetrate up to here. And given the high altitude of Ladakh, it was visible over there. But still it was a rare phenomena. On 23 it happened, 24 they asked this question. So it had a very straightforward connection. Okay. No big deal also. Ab isme to I should not be explaining it as such. Okay, this is a straightforward elaboration, summary, conclusion. But if you are aware of, which people must have been aware of, क्योंकि just the year in which they were writing the examination, they must have read it. You have to write the current context. Correct. So current context likhiye. Aurora, how auroras develop? Yes, auroras develop due to the interaction of solar winds with the Earth's magnetic field, and most importantly, the combination of ions, okay, in the ionosphere. Most important thing is in ionosphere you have ions. Solar winds are in plasma state, they have ions. The recombination of ions happen, and so the energy is released. The energy which is released, visible frequency range, majorly in green light. So green ke frequency range hai, and you explain the basic phenomena. That's it. Okay, but most importantly, you mention the case of Ladakh, and you mention the reason, which I told you was nothing but a specific year, very strong solar winds, which were able to penetrate up to here. Okay. And then coming to what is a twister. Why are the majority of twisters observed in areas around the Gulf of Mexico? Of twisters, what are twisters? Not cyclones. Twisters. Twisters are tornado. Twister means tornado. So tornadoes when form, again it's a straightforward question demanding a explanation of mechanism. So tornadoes when form, tornadoes are of two types. Okay. Now this tornado can be a supercell tornado and a non-supercell tornado. Supercell and non-supercell tornado. So what precisely is the mechanism over here? In supercell tornado, the wind movement takes place like this. Vertical. Okay, so there would be a low pressure, a high pressure, and the wind movement happens, which gives rise to this type of circulation cell. Coriolis force. This type of circulation cell develops. Now this circulation cell which is there, check here. So a number of such cells would develop, and this is a ground. So this becomes a rolling cylinder. That's first thing. This is supercell. Non-supercell mein there is horizontal movement. And due to horizontal movement, and because we have different velocities of different layers, yahan pe again there is a cell which is developed. Okay, but this will develop pretty much like horizontal. So this. So you have a vertical cylinder that develops in non-supercell. So first part of the mechanism is development of these type of movements. Once that happens, a strong updraft works on it. When a strong updraft works on this, you have a cloud over here. The strong updraft stretches it like a spring, and it hits the cloud first. And in this case, the updraft is strong. The updraft uplifts this itself, and this also becomes like this. Okay. Once this happens, when it gets connected to the cloud, because it is extreme low pressure condition, it starts pulling, what we call as pulling the condensation from the cloud. And so all the condensation here would mean the water droplets which have condensed and all, that would descend from here. And the moment it touches the ground, it creates a complete system, what we call as tornado. Okay? So very obviously tornadoes would be wider at the base of the cloud and over here getting this funnel shape in both the cases. This is the mechanism. ठीक है? अब in this case supercell tornadoes are destructive ones. All the major destructive tornadoes are supercell tornado. Non-supercell are moderate ones. They come in two forms: land spouts and water spouts. If it develops over land, it has less of the moisture. Okay, dust and all is very much there. That's called as land spout. Water spout mein major late is water in that. But this, both of these are non-supercell. Okay, supercell is one destructive tornado. They are called as twisters. That's the first part. Okay? Now, second, their occurrence. So, occurrence, tornadoes occur almost everywhere. But the question, as the question asked, and that's basically a fact, that maximum number of tornadoes we find, okay, to the north of Gulf of Mexico, Great Plains of USA. That's where maximum number of tornadoes are found. What is the reason? So the question here itself is asking us, observed in areas around the Gulf of Mexico. So up Gulf of Mexico region and around that, what precisely is happening? So over here in this case, Gulf of Mexico, Rockies, this region we are talking about. And now in this region, most importantly, what happens is the air masses from here. Which air mass? Continental polar, CP air mass. CP air mass from here and maritime tropical air mass from here. It meets here. As the winds meet over here, they create perfect condition. That's what we have drawn for these cyclones to come up. That's one thing. Plus they have heavy contrast also. Okay, along with that, this is all plain area. It allows for large tornadoes to form. Surface area it provides. So this Great Plain provides large surface area for tornadoes to form over here. These are the two main reasons why maximum number of tornadoes are found in this area. Okay, understood? Yes. So this was a very straightforward question anyways. Okay, you just have to know the content. This is a summary based. It's more of tornadoes, it's not about rainfall, it's more about wind speed. So wind speed can reach 300 kilometers per hour also. Water spouts may, yes, but it is over water body, so nothing destructive happens on the land. Typhoon is a cyclone only. No? Typhoon is another name for tropical cyclones. Yeah, so in Pacific Ocean, North Pacific, they are called as typhoons. It's cyclone, tropical cyclone. Hurricane is the name in North Atlantic. It's just different names of tropical cyclones. How many names we have? Hurricanes in North Atlantic. South Atlantic में tropical cyclones do not occur. North Pacific में typhoon, or in Japan they call it taifu, typhoon or taifu. Southern Pacific में willy willy, Australia. Okay, and then Indian Ocean में north and south both we call it cyclones. That's it. These are different names. Mechanism is same. ठीक है, done? Got it? So for this, what I'll suggest all of you, tornado जो है, okay, to have a better graphical understanding, on YouTube, search there tornado, and you have a National Geographic series 101, series 101 on YouTube. Okay, only see that one, others are not good. Okay, it will confuse you only. National Geographic का tornadoes, okay, 101 करके series है, उसमें they have all the geography explained, and it has very good explanation. This supercell, non-supercell, properly you will see over there the animation that they have made. That's mainly used for animation part. You just make sure to check it. Otherwise, the mechanism I have explained it to you what happens. Yes. So these are all the questions up to 2024. So 2 years 24, 25 we have already done. See? So complete the answers, please. Okay, make sure you see, the more you write, the less is the proneness of forgetting. जैसे अब AR6 है, so what I am forgetting? If I have written once or twice, I'll always remember. So make sure you write it, get it checked also. And let's see, next Sunday, most possibly we'll change the subject. We'll have some other subject. And so, ठीक है? चलिए, okay everyone, that's it for this session. Thank you.